Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Cohasset School Committee. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. We will call the meeting to order with a roll call. Mr. Dial?
Here virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Evans, I know runs a few minutes late. Mr. McClellan?
Present.
Mr. Squattrito?
Present.
Jen Lesky present. We do have a quorum and we will begin our meeting. Please stand if you are able to do so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. This is Corey Evans raised his hand. It looks like he is attending virtually, perhaps. Mr. Evans, if you can hear me, I'm working on getting you. A panelist. Okay. So please let the minutes reflect that Mr. Evans is also present.
Sorry.
Virtually. Thank you.
Apologies, everybody. My wife got tied up at the library, so.
Great. All right. So this is the part of our meeting that is dedicated to public comment. We will take comments from anyone who is here in person and or anyone who is online participating via Zoom. And we welcome all comments that you may have. I will note that this is a particularly busy time for all of our teachers, administrators, families, students alike. So we wish everyone sort of some calm during this most busy season of playoff games and new sports starting and winter concerts and all of the other things that go along with this last few weeks of 2025. I don't see any public comments, so we will move on to our invited guests. But I have to say, unfortunately, Dylan Jewell, who is on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, is unable to join us tonight as we had planned because he is on the debate team, and the debate team is either competing or meeting or practicing. So I find that to be an absolutely excellent excuse to not be here, and we look forward to Dylan joining us the next time we meet. So we'll move straight ahead into Block D, the superintendent report.
All right, thank you. I'm starting off in a similar way that you did, Chair Lesky. Hoping that everyone had a nice Thanksgiving and letting folks know that we're entering one of the busiest times of the school year, the 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and winter break. And so I have some dates that I want to share so that everyone can make sure their calendars are accurate. So first and foremost, tomorrow we are inviting everybody in the community down to Gillette to watch the Cohasset football team take on Amesbury in the Super Bowl. If you haven't ever been when they play there, it is a fantastic event. And it is just so fun to watch our kids on the Patriots field. There's nothing like it. And so we hope they win. Wednesday, the 10th is the middle school concert that is here in the auditorium. Friday, the 12th at 9:30 a.m. is the grade 3 concert at Deer Hill. Tuesday, the 16th is the high school concert here in our auditorium. And a reminder to all families that the 19th is a full day of school, but it is the last day of school prior to the winter break. And we look forward to seeing all families and all students again on January 5th, 2026. Because it's such a busy time, just want to make people aware as well that the other elementary school concerts, their winter concerts are actually held in January. So hopefully that gives people a little bit of breathing space. Want to provide a few updates on what we're doing as a district and on our work with regard to the strategic plan. So first of all, as everybody is aware, Miss Owens, who's been amazing, is retiring at the end of this school year. We are in the process of hiring a new director of finance and operations. Our committee has been meeting. That committee consists of myself, Dr. Scollins, Mr. Stapleton, Jerry Ballard, and Karen Kroll from our business office, Principal Scott, Principal Gaudet, Benicio Cordon, who's the Director of Food Service, Mr. Evans, Linda Cole, who is the Cohasset Town Treasurer, and community member Victoria Latanzi. We met to review the 13 applications that came in, and after reviewing all of those applications, we've invited 7 of those folks in for a first round interview. Those interviews will happen on the 10th and 11th. The goal of that screening committee is to, after those first round interviews, recommend finalists to me so we can have a finalist round of interviews. We're trying to have that happen before we go on break. And the finalist days will consist of a series of forums where candidates will be able to meet with leadership, members of the business office, myself, and school committee. And then all of those who attend the forums will have the opportunity to provide feedback on the final candidates. And then once a decision is made, I will be making a recommendation for hire to you, the school committee, after the new year. So that process is ongoing, and we are excited to have 7 applicants for our interview process. Our new strategic plan has challenged us to learn, grow, and be inspired together, and it sets a goal to build opportunities for teacher leadership within the district and to more intentionally design meaningful professional learning opportunities for staff. So to that end, our rejuvenated professional learning committee has been meeting to plan a teacher-led professional development day that will be held on Monday, December 22nd, so in just a couple of weeks. We're very excited about this day. Our theme is balance and belonging. The morning is focused on strategies teachers at all grade levels and in a variety of content areas can use in their classrooms. And the afternoon is focused on teacher wellness and well-being. In all, we've had 35 educators create workshops, some of them together, some of them individually, that will be offered to their colleagues, which is an amazing response. And I'm really excited about the day and grateful to all of the staff who will be facilitating the learning experiences and to the professional learning committee who are planning the event. The communications committee has also been meeting, and we are going to be sending out a survey soon to all families requesting information and feedback about district and school level communication. We know that December is a tough time of year, but we're going to try and do things a little bit differently. We will send it out, but we're also going to try and capitalize between December and January on the captive audiences that we have at sporting events and concerts. We hope that by encouraging people to complete the survey while they are sitting in their seats, that we will get a greater response rate than we typically do. And once the committee has had time to process the results of that survey and make recommendations, we will share an update with you. Those are all of my general updates. If there are any questions on those before I go into staff attendance, I can take any questions.
Mr. Dial, comments or
Nothing here,
questions?
thank you.
Mr. Evans? Do you have
Love the
any comments?
idea. Yeah, love the idea that you're using captive audiences. That's great. So hopefully we get some feedback. Breaking through is so hard. So I hope we can find a way to connect with people more effectively.
Mr. Squadrigo?
Questions?
Mr. McClellan?
No comments. Thank you for the attention.
And I will add my thanks and also thank you to those teachers and staff who are leading their colleagues in seminars. I think that that's just learning from one another and learning from peers. Not only do, as a teacher, you understand what it's like to be in the district, and so can really tailor your coursework or course day accordingly. But I think it's also nice to see each other as experts within the teaching community. So thank you. I think that's also helpful.
All right. So recently, news outlets have covered a press release from the Department of Education about staff attendance. So school districts across the state have always reported staff attendance to DESE as part of our end of year reports. This is the first time DESE has released staff attendance publicly about districts. For this report, DESE has defined an absence as missing more than half of a workday for a reason that falls outside of paid school vacation time or district-approved professional development activities. So that means they have counted things like sick days, bereavement days, school business days, and long-term leaves like parental leaves, maternity, paternity, adoption leaves, medical leaves like surgery. All of those days are factored into this attendance data. The data is released in the aggregate. They are not going to be publishing individual teacher attendance or administrator attendance. And they are being more public with staff attendance because they're also making a concerted effort to improve student attendance, which all of our districts across the state are also making that concerted effort to continue to improve student attendance, because if students aren't in school, they're not learning. I recognize that if they're like on some amazing adventure, you know, in the pyramids in Egypt, there's learning happening. But in general, when students are not in school, they're not learning what needs to be learned. So I want to share with you, we took that attendance data and I created a chart that shows us against the state and us against all of our local neighboring districts. I'll pull it up and then I will comment on that. So this is us compared to our local districts. The blue is administrators. The gold, I'll call it, is all staff. So that's teachers and administrators. And the green is teachers. And what you can see here, this is Cohasset. And what you can see is that our attendance rates are higher than all of our neighboring districts and above the state totals. And so we're very proud of this. We're very grateful to our teachers who continue to show their professionalism, their dedication to their students on a daily basis here in Cohasset. You know, this doesn't show us any cause for alarm. It really shows us that we have something to be proud of here. But we did want to share it with you because it has been something that has been in the news. So that's really all I have for my superintendent's report. If there are any questions about the attendance data, happy to take those questions.
Mr. Dial? Questions?
You've covered all the questions I might have, but I guess just to put a point on it, we report this data to DESE. So I imagine nothing here came as a surprise to you with respect to our attendance then.
No.
Great.
I guess, you know what? We always know that our attendance and our teachers are really great about it. What we didn't know is how we compared to other districts, and now we do.
Right. Yeah. So and it seems like we compare very favorably. And I know we've talked about that in areas, and I think it's good that we're on the positive side of the ledger on that one.
Mr. Evans?
No comments, but yeah, great data.
Mr. Squadrito?
I also have no comments, but I think, obviously these are small fluctuations we're talking about, but it is definitely still encouraging and makes a difference.
Mr. McClellan?
Thank you, Cohasset staff and our teachers for being on top there. I love that hunter green line there showing that our teachers are, as Mr. Squartrito mentioned, it's a minor fluctuation, but still,
Yeah.
it's good to be on top.
It is.
So thank you, everyone, for your dedication to our students in our school and our families and our community.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. McClellan. Thank you. Thank you, teachers. Because it does, being a teacher myself, it does mean making your dentist appointments after 4 p.m., which are sometimes hard to get those appointments, and needing to sort of get your car serviced at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So, I hope that in addition to just being really grateful to you for showing up and being here and being engaged with our kids all the time, but are also rearranging your personal lives around your work day, which is pretty inflexible. So thank you. All right. Dr. Scollins, teaching and learning.
Thank you. So I have brought to you the past couple of meetings is the new policy for the middle school pathway exploration policy, IHAIA, and this is a requirement by the state. So this is your third read. And we are required to do this, and it really, just as a reminder, is we've always been doing this, but now we have a policy that talks about the fact that we offer the opportunities for our middle school or eighth graders to see vocational schools in our area. And that would be South Shore Tech and then Norfolk Aggie. And so we have always done it and we'll continue to, but we just needed to make sure we had a policy. So I'm asking for you to consider it to vote.
We have had the opportunity to discuss, ask questions, get clarifications. Are there any lingering points at this point from any community members? Speak it well, please. If not, does everyone feel?
And I'm sorry, my audio broke for a second there. Leslie, would you mind just doing the last 2 seconds of your thing
Sure.
again?
I'd like to give anyone an opportunity for any final words they have on.
Well, no, I heard you. I'm from Dr. Scollins.
Oh, for me. Okay. And I'm sorry, what did,
Yes.
of course, you don't know what you didn't hear because you couldn't hear it. So, but this is the policy for the middle school, and it's making sure that there are exploration pathways for them. And so this is for us to make sure that we are making opportunities for our eighth graders and our families to know about our vocational school, South Shore Tech, and also Norfolk Aggie. They usually come here, and then they also will provide field trips for our eighth graders to go visit.
My apologies. It broke up, and I thought you'd said you'd changed something from the prior time we
did.
talked about this. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
So if there are no further comments or questions at this point, we'd be seeking a motion to approve the middle school pathway exploration policy as presented.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Dial?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Squattrito?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Jen Leske? Aye. Consider it approved.
Thank you very
It's
much.
not even a consider it approved. It is approved.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm very happy about that. Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right.
Have that added to our policies. And then we have two other policies, and you'll see that I have first and second read. I've asked that we do that because one is competency determination and the other one is graduation requirements. And the reason I'm asking you to fast track these a little bit is the fact that this is also a requirement by the state. If you remember last year, the people of Massachusetts voted to eliminate MCAS as a graduation requirement. They are asking districts to come up with a plan to determine competency determinations, and that will include policies, it includes courses, and as well as metrics for determining the achievement. And we are to submit all this by the 31st of this month. We've been waiting for guidance from DESE. They told us they would give us some guidance in November. They gave it to us on December 1st, so we've been kind of waiting because we knew they were going to give guidance and we didn't want to have to come back to you. However, that doesn't seem to be the case because they gave it to us on the 1st. They also had a webinar this morning. They are sticking with that timeline. However, they've given their guidance, which has 7 components to it. So we're going to be in front of you again to ask you to change the policy based on what they're going to tell us. But I need to have the policy done before the 31st of December of this year. They're asking us to still fill everything in, and then they're going to tell us what to do. So
Can I
did
just
you add to that? Yes.
They literally this morning on the webinar, they had a webinar specifically with the commissioner, the secretary of education, the president of MASS, and I think every superintendent and assistant superintendent in the state. And they literally said, we recognize that we just gave you this information on Monday. And we are definitely going to ask you to continue to submit by the end of December. So they know full well, because actually the Association of School Superintendents have given them the feedback that the fact that they ask us to do things, then give us the guidance, and then have us come back doesn't feel good and feels as though it undermines trust and legitimacy with the public. But at the same time, we need to follow the DESI timeline and submit. And so we are gonna ask you again to revise this once they have completed their process of, like, what they gave today is actually just the draft in their midpoint recommendations. They're still doing work in their final recommendations. They said won't be available until June.
So, thank you. That's exactly right. Thank you. So what we've done is we have worked with other districts also. We've looked at what other people are doing. Most of us are all on the same page. And if you've seen the news, all of us since mid-November have been asking their school committees to approve their competency determinations. And so it's based on what we need to accomplish, what students need to do. And it's what we've always been doing for our students. It's just that we've removed the MCAS part of it. So they have certain English requirements, they have mathematics requirements, science and US history. And so that would be the competency determination policy, and that's IKFE. And I just pull it up on my screen view. So that's this one, and it also addresses special education students also in this as a process to follow. And then the second one is graduation. And then the other one, sorry. There we go. And then the graduation requirements, these are what we've always had. So we didn't have a policy actually for graduation. So we added that in addition to, because we're going to have to have it anyway. And so those are the two policies that we have in place. So we can wait until the 17th, which is perfectly fine. If you want to look at them over and think about it and have questions, if you want to vote for it today, you can do that also. It feels kind of foolish saying it this way, but we're going to have to put it in front of you anyway next year when they tell us exactly what we have to have.
I'm wondering, we have Principal Ryan Scott
Yep.
here. Principal Scott, would you like to join us for any
Yeah.
questions from the high school principal perspective on graduation
Yeah.
requirements and
Yeah, Principal
changes
Scott.
and sort of how this impacts operations?
Yeah, Principal
for
Scott
you?
and also Principal Scott, like, they've been in this from the beginning. Principal Scott has been working with other principals and trying to kind of figure out what we're supposed to do.
Do you have any words you would like to share with us up front, or?
Yeah, I would just say the graduation requirements are what they've evolved to be over the years. We've made some minor changes as coursework has changed, but that doesn't change. Our graduation requirements are much more stringent than the state's. So the thought process among all the principals was it's kind of nonsensical to have two, because if you're going to meet ours, you will automatically meet the state's. However, if they implement some of the things that they're suggesting, that would include like an end of course assessment, which is essentially MCAS rebranded. We want to allow ourselves the flexibility for all of our students who are transfers, who are special ed, to be able to meet those in addition to ours. So.
We'll see if any board members have any, or committee members, excuse me, have any initial questions or comments. Mr. Dial?
So from a threshold matter, just to make sure I understand, we're being asked to review at this point 2 new policies at the request of DESI, competency determination, and then graduation requirements. Can you, maybe you said this, but I was just trying to digest that concept at this point. But how does this compare from yesterday to today? Like, are these just memorializing what we currently do? Or are there things in here that are different than our current model for both competency determination and for graduation requirements?
It's essentially the same language that we've had with the elimination of MCAS as a graduation requirement. So the prior to that, it said that you had to take a certain number of courses, you had to pass 2 years of English, you had to pass a science. We've just specified what those courses are, the same as it was before.
And did we not have it as a policy before? I remember we talked about this and when the MCAS and we decided, but was it not just a policy or what's changed here?
It was always in the program of studies.
Right.
It just wasn't.
Oh, that's what it was.
So it's always been
So this
voted
is-
on.
Got it. So this is a policy level, school committee policy level issue that is being elevated out of the program of studies for the competency determination. Is that also true for the graduation requirements? Okay, and these are, except for the MCAS, which we talked about last year, these are otherwise identical to what we currently have in our program of studies,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, with the exception of an appeals process.
Right, we put that in.
We had to put in
Okay.
an appeals process because it can go back in time now that the law has changed. And so we have to give those who have, I'm not going to use the word graduated because technically they're appealing if they graduated, so left the district because they've aged out. If they weren't able to
If they got a
earn
certificate
it,
of completion.
yeah, if they got a certificate of completion versus a diploma, we now have an appeals process for them to come back and appeal that to get a diploma. But that's a
And you
minimum
talked,
duration for this district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would involve someone who didn't take and pass MCAS.
It doesn't really happen.
and where did that, how did you develop that appeals process? We haven't had one before. Was there a baseline or an example that we started from?
It is. We looked at what other districts were doing. And so we kept it very simple because we know that the state's going to give us more language.
And basically, we would just retroactively apply the current standard. So we would review the student's coursework. If that aligns with what the current competency determination is, then that would be grounds for a favorable appeal.
Okay, that's super helpful. I'll just note from my perspective, I'd like to spend some time thinking about this as opposed to look and allow the community to have feedback on this. These are obviously whether our kids graduate or are competent for entering society are important roles of the school, and I don't want to just rush that through a school committee meeting. So I will I thank you for that, and it's helpful. It doesn't sound like there's a big delta there, but I do want to be thoughtful about it. So appreciate your input.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Evans?
Yeah, thanks. Principal Scott, did I hear you correctly? Did you say that our internal documents are somewhat different or have a higher standard? Did I hear that correctly?
So every local community gets to set their own graduation standards in
Okay.
addition to what the minimum standards of the state are. Those have always been published in our program of studies, and those continue to be the same.
So in the case of a student that would meet the state requirement, but not our requirement, how does that get solved? Or is that not even a thing that can happen?
They still have to meet ours. So ours is a much higher standard.
Right.
So were you to transfer out of Cohasset, you may have already met that local district's requirements, but you would, if you transferred in and it only met the state minimum, you'd need a few more semesters.
Okay, so we're not compelled to change our standards downwards due to this
No.
new guidance.
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No, it's really memorializing what we already do.
Mr. Squartrito?
Thank you to everybody for putting up with this. Personally, just throwing it out there, I'm not binding to this. I'm happy to vote on this, knowing that one, again, it is just memorializing what we've already established. I went through all these requirements and I was like, oh, this is all the same. So with that being said, I, as an individual, would be comfortable with it, but if other people want to give it time for the next 2 weeks, I think that's perfectly fine as well, but mostly just because it's not changing anything. But yeah, I guess my question, I know you brought up some of the criteria that Desi was mentioning this morning.
Yes.
Has anything, I know it's very recent, but has anything major popped out that maybe we're missing or do you think we're pretty closely aligned? Do you have an idea of that yet?
The requirements are going to be very interesting to see where they land
Yeah.
because there are now 7 dimensions. And the 7 dimensions include the possibility of end of course exams. So you take US1 and you take the state US1 exam. But if you don't pass the state exam, there's no real recourse for what happens. So one of the things that the principals were talking about was when we're explaining competency, do you need to just pass the course or do you need to pass the exam? And what constitutes competency? Because if you don't, then what do you do? You don't retake it because you've already got the credits, but do you have to retake the exam? How does that work? There's all kinds of questions around that. They also have included the possibility of a capstone or portfolio project.
In addition to taking the assessment that will be graded by the
Right,
state.
yeah, this is all together. So we would have to think about how that gets offered. Is that a first semester, second semester senior course? Who teaches it? There's a possibility of a financial literacy component. So again, like who teaches that? What do we give up in order to put that in the schedule? Obviously we do offer, we just don't mandate it. And then there's some strange things like you have to complete the FAFSA. And the rationale behind that was that they want to make sure everyone has a path to post-secondary opportunities. I don't see that as a huge challenge for us, nor do I really see it as the role of the school. But that's a component of it. There's a CTA component of it, which wouldn't apply to us. Trying to think of what the
There's a
other.
MyCap, or there's a,
The CTE, which is the.
well, it's about job planning and discovering, using a program. They have MyCap. We actually use a different
Mass Hire
program.
360.
To start in middle school so kids can start to think about what path they want to take post graduation.
Yeah,
So that
which
was
we
a
currently do.
requirement, which we do already.
But whether or not we have to comply with what the state tool is
Right.
versus use our own.
Right.
Those are a lot of questions that people had. Do the AP exams supplement the end of course exams or there's all kinds of questions on there.
So they've kind of just thrown these ideas out. They have,
Yes.
if I'm understanding correctly, they haven't given specific points as to what
When
districts
or
are going to have to.
Or financial support.
Or,
Or
yeah,
or financial.
Okay. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
or timeline for implementation.
Mr. McClellan.
Thank you. Yeah, just note, as a point of order, I don't think it would be appropriate for us to vote on this anyway, because we didn't note on the agenda that it was right for vote, so I don't think it'd be appropriate to vote on it. And even though I think if it was starred, we could, because with respect to Mr. Dial's comments, there just aren't any changes. The only changes are the ones that we're legally obligated to make. So there are no substantive changes to anything that has already been in place and voted on repeatedly in the district. That said, I do want to take a moment to just quickly voice my frustration with DESE, who I believe to be an acting after the fact organization repeatedly. They've proven themselves this way on most impactful issues, and it's annoying and it's frustrating to districts that are trying to operate in a successful fashion. They did it during the pandemic. I thought their guidance was very underwhelming. They're doing it with this. This was voted on that ballot question November 2024, and they're just getting around to some very ambiguous, amorphous sort of ideas or concepts about what they're going to do for graduation requirements more than a year later. And it's very frustrating. I also think that they just had, which our superintendents participated in, those forums. Those were like not more than a month ago. And now they're rolling this out, which shows to me that demonstrate that those were completely performative and had no substance whatsoever. And they did not take any content or perspective or insight that was shared in those forums into consideration in formulating whatever, half-baked plan they rolled out. And I find it frustrating that they're then telling us to vote on policies that are broadcasting to our communities what the graduation requirements are, even though they're not going to be the graduation requirements for long. So I would just add that because of that, I think that we should just note on these policies and make it clear something to the effect of, these policies are subject to change in the near future, given DESE's, assertions that, however you word it, I can't come up with it now, but I think you understand basically the caveat that you all shared right now. And I just wanted to vote that because, I just want to voice my concerns because, I think that they can and should do better, DESE, for our communities, for the residents of Massachusetts, and certainly for the residents of Cohasset, who I'm concerned with. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I share many of those sentiments. Additionally, just the time that it requires of our school administrators to do this multiple times within one academic year seems to be taking energy away from other endeavors, which is unfortunate. Thank you, Principal Scott, for being here. And I think, as Mr. McClellan mentioned, this was not up for a vote tonight, so this does give every committee member an additional opportunity to read through and to come up with any questions that you may have, and we will put this forward for a vote at our meeting on the 17th. Thank you. Student Services Update, Mr. Michael Stapleton, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a brief update tonight, starting first with the data sharing, which I do each time that I'm here. So for a relatively short month with the Thanksgiving break and Veterans Day, Student Services Special Education had a busy month with 38 total meetings. At the elementary level, there were 3 annual reviews, 7 initial evaluations, reevaluations, 9 initial evaluations. All 9 of those requests did come from family. 3 of those students were found eligible, or the others were not. There were 3 Cohasset resident or private students who attend private school evaluations. At the secondary level, there were 7 annual reviews. There were 8 reevaluations, 2 initial evaluations. Both initial evaluations came from families. Both students were not eligible for special education at this time. I did want to highlight, and just thinking, I know last meeting we had talked about like the functioning of MTSS and how this works. I think it's worth noting that, so today was the 62nd day of school. So when we think about MTSS and like the different, at each building level, the different services that can be put into place when students are struggling, whether that's work with the reading specialist or math specialist, executive functioning support at the high school. I'm not shocked to see that MTSS during this month of November, so testing would have started, right, 30 days prior within this 45-day window to hold the meetings. And so again, our teams are working pretty closely with students to put interventions into place immediately, rather than just jumping right to initial evaluations to determine eligibility for services. So obviously I do notice that, for both the elementary and secondary, during the month of November, again, thinking about that window of time, I'm not surprised to see that when I think about the different supports that have been put into place, at the middle school, the reading intervention supports, and then at the elementary school too, work with both reading and math specialists. But I did want to just note that, and so that's something that I'll continue to monitor. And we do see some families come back from the summer and requests pretty quickly if they, something happened over the summer, or if they have some concerns about how the year is starting. It's also interesting to see when referrals come through after parent-teacher conferences. Sometimes that's something that we're working on and thinking about how, general education teachers share how students are doing, and then also trust in the process with the work that the reading and math specialists do. And then also just like those tier 1 supports that can be put into place through the DCAP, the district accommodation plan, which I'm also happy to present on at a future meeting as well. Different accommodations that are available to all students. And then for out of district meetings, I held 2 annual reviews. Again, so a very busy month with 38 meetings. This didn't make it out in time for your packets, and I'm happy to resend it out. But I did update this, monitoring of where we are special education response-wise. So currently there's 276 active and accepted IEPs within the district. We're waiting on responses for 27 families. We do have a very small percentage of rejected IEPs, which are in process, which would be Greeky meeting teams and moving through that rejection process. And then we currently have 38 pending evaluations, which could be initial evaluations or reevaluations. So school psychologists and related service providers who conduct those reevaluations and initial evaluations are very busy at this time, with a high number, 38 total active evaluations. I mentioned in my previous presentations that this is a major compliance year for the Office of Student Services, and so I'm going to speak to the findings from the circuit breaker audit which took place. And so circuit breaker is so the DESE District and School Finance Office completed an examination of the claims reported by Cohasset for this fiscal year for the Special Education Reimbursement Program, commonly known as circuit breaker. And so circuit breaker is a way to support districts with very high special education costs. Typically for out-of-district students and related to specialized transportation, which across the Commonwealth right now is a major area of concern for districts, as very high and costly to transport students and then also for identified out-of-district placements. And so DESE were on site for the full school day on November 12th. So we hosted them down in central office. There were 2 representatives who came, and they comprehensively reviewed our claims that were made. So I have to give a major shout out to Teresa Miller, the administrative assistant for the Office of Student Services, whose major responsibility is like that claiming process and how we document claims, how we monitor student, just like the start to finish nuts and bolts of how we report claims using the CHAMP system, the DESE system, and then how we monitor and then receive that funding back. And so the major finding was that the district was very well prepared for the audit because Teresa had conducted and myself had reviewed a pre-audit that took place. And so we went through each student who is eligible for circuit breaker reimbursement and made sure that the reporting that we completed lines up with how we reported funding for the transportation costs and then also the tuition costs. So the system, the audit did not find any systematic errors in how we complete claims and served, in DESE's words, to confirm the district's understanding of the circuit breaker claim process. And I found it, only my second year as Director of Student Services, and again, Teresa does manage a lot of this responsibility for circuit breaker, just really helpful to affirm my understanding of circuit breaker, how it works, and then also just to open lines of communication with the DESE representatives. They were very helpful during the entire start, when we were notified that we were being audited for our pre-audit, and then when they were on site in person. And so they really helped us think about our systems, how we do things, and then just areas to tweak and improve. So overall, I would say it was a successful day. It was a high stress day, obviously to have DESE on site, right next door in the community use room. But it was a positive experience for myself and for Teresa. And overall went really well. My next update, again, related to compliance, is just the formal notification of our English Learner Education Program tiered focus monitoring. So after the holiday break that's coming up on January 7th, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Office of Language Acquisition will conduct the tiered focus monitoring for Cohasset Public Schools. This is done every 6 years to monitor compliance with both state and federal English learner education laws and regulations. I've mentioned this before, this monitoring process really will look at the English Learner Education Program across the district. It will look at student assessment, how we identify English language learners, what programs are in place, parent and community involvement in this programming, the curriculum instruction, student support services for students who are English language learners. It looks at licensure and requirements for faculty, staff, and administration. So it really does a comprehensive overview of the full program and looks at student records and how the program is functioning within Cohasset Public Schools. And so I did want to announce this tonight because the survey for those, we have a small number of families and students that fall within this category of English language learners, it's under 10 students across the district, but those families will be receiving a survey that's mandated through this process, and that will be going out on Friday from my office, from my email. And so that survey will be huge because those results will also be reviewed through this tier focus monitoring. So it'll allow parents the ability to just provide input on the English Learner Education Program here, and we'll ask some very specific questions about how things are working. And so that, again, that will be sent out on this Friday, and then those results will go right to DESE. David Parker is the name of the DESE representative who I've been working with for the initial, orientation type activities for this process, which is culminated in my submitting of documentation, review of our policy, handbook, and procedures. And so that will be a virtual site visit since we don't have that many students that fall within this category. They won't be on site. It will take place virtually, and that will include interviews with myself, with our English learner teacher, Maura Burke, and then with the high school general education teacher who's SEI endorsed, and then an elementary teacher who's SEI endorsed. And so they'll be, again, reviewing comprehensively the program, and I'm happy to share those results, when those are publicly made following the tier focus monitoring site visit, virtual site visit. And then my last update is just a CPAC procedural or schedule change. Originally, the school psychologists were scheduled to be at our at the December meeting, which is taking place next week. But due to a conflict, I had to flip-flop that. So I've been in touch with Sarah Davis, Jamie Scott, and Stephanie Saunders, the CPAC representatives. And so the CPAC meeting scheduled for December 11th will still take place in the community use room next week, but the school psychologist will be presenting on January 8th instead. So I just highlighted that. And I know Sarah was planning on sending out a correspondence to just so people were aware. And so that was just one change that I wanted to mention today. But if any questions, you can reach out to myself or to Sarah, or any of the contacts listed there regarding CPAC. So that is my update for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Stapleton. Mr. Dial.
Question once again. Thank you, Mr. Stapleton. Very, very informative update.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans.
Congratulations on making it through the audit. It's a complicated process, but it's so important for our budget and to be correct on this through and through. So nice work by your department. And are we at 75% this year, like previous years, or has they changed it for us?
Correct. Yep, 75%. And that's again, what I was speaking to, just of like, it was a timely audit too, right? Well, it came quickly, but like just thinking of like the climate and where we are currently, it really reaffirmed the systems that are in place. So again, a positive, despite the pressure of that on the day of.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Squattrito, and before Mr. Squattrito speaks, Ms. Saunders is watching virtually, and if she would like to join us as a member of CPAC and to sort of join us on screen right now, she's more than welcome to do so. Just give me the little wave signal and I'll promote you to a panelist for this section, but absolutely no obligation to do so. I sometimes eat dinner and watch committee meetings myself. So thank you. All right, Mr. Squattrito.
Thank you again. Congratulations on the audit. I know this perfect storm is continuing. So just overall very important. Thank you.
Mr. McCollum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As always, inspiring confidence, you and your team, Mr. Stapleton. Thank you so much for the excellent work you're doing.
I'd also like to add my thanks. I feel like that is the best description of why numbers of students being, and I'm totally losing the word, I'm put forward to, recommended to, or as seeking, or family seeking evaluation that I have heard ever. So, and that's in a really long time that I've been on this earth. So thank you for that. And thank you for thinking about those questions that we as committee members have asked before, as well as questions that the public in general may have. I also appreciate your attention to everything going on with your audits. That is a lot of extra work on top of everything else that you're managing so well. So thank you for that. I do have one comment for CPAC. CPAC, I love the little visual we had. If possible, if you have CPAC emails or best email to contact you at when it says questions you can reach out to, it would be lovely to have that little piece of information there. I just noticed it. I was like, oh, what if I wanted to write to you and say hello?
I can add that and send that out.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Oh, and we do have a question up here.
Ms. Saunders'
It's just
response
Ms.
to
Saunders.
Oh, okay. Thank you. My ability to use. Yes, Michael, thank you for your hard work.
Thanks.
Yes, from CPAC. All right, so we can move on to budget, resources, and governance.
Okay. So this is the final read for capital requests. Since the last time that I brought our capital requests to you, we have had the opportunity as a leadership team to fine tune and finalize our capital requests for FY27 and have a meeting with a representative from the capital committee from the town side. And so we're feeling confident about the requests that we would like to make this year. I'm going to share my screen, show you what that final list looks like. I will note that we are still waiting on a couple of prices to come in, but we have some information. So some ongoing requests, the bus leases and the multi-use vehicle lease, not a van. Those are ongoing. We have 10 buses that we would be looking to continue to lease. Total cost there is $196,236. The multi-use vehicle lease, this is year 2 of 5, that's $22,000. We are in year 4 of 4 of replacing our interactive whiteboards. We did half of Osgood and half of Deer Hill this year. This 4th year would finish that. So the other half of Deer Hill and the other half of Osgood, the cost there is $127,689. We have last year started some security enhancements, some camera installation, some replacement of cameras across the district. This is year 2 of that project. It would finalize some replacements and upgrades here at the middle school, high school, and do some outdoor cameras that have been missing or are no longer working or are too grainy to be used anymore. I've spoken with Ron. He's asked a couple times. They came out, I want to say like 2.5 weeks ago. We haven't received the quote yet. So that quote should be coming in any day now. Ron had hoped to have that for me today, but didn't. So we know that that's not going to be more than what it was last year. And we know that the capital planning board is expecting that second year of that request. The recurring furniture line item, that's something we've talked with the capital planning board about. It allows us to upgrade furniture as needed this year. Last year, we were able to do some of the spaces at the middle school and high school. We would use this year's funding to start replacing some classroom furniture and doing some model classrooms so that we can start to get a sense of what furniture we want to be moving towards for the type of learning that we're doing in our schools. And should we get invited into an MSBA process, one of 2 things can happen with any furniture we're purchasing now is that it can be moved to a new building and or it can start going down to the elementary schools to replace some of their needed furniture as well. On the last version of this, we were talking about the fence for the alumni field and potential netting. In conversations between last meeting and this meeting, those 2 items are actually going to be combined to become a CPC request. We've talked about that with Principal Scott, with Athletic Director Rotundi, and with Michelle Leary, our interim town manager, and have had initial conversations with some CPC members. So that we're taking that, we're going to move it into that process. And as a result of those conversations, moving the football uprights into this year's requests. We have an older request. Mr. Rotundi has asked for a new quote, updated quote. Again, had hoped to get that by today, but it hasn't come in yet. Some of these were at the mercy of the suppliers. But the old request, the old invoice or estimate had it about $14,000. So we know it's going to come in a little bit higher than that, but not significantly higher than that. And then the performance risers for the visual and performing arts department are a high need so that we can make sure that our students are both using safer risers and risers that are ADA compliant. So we know that total is going to go up a bit when we get those last 2 estimates, but this is what we would propose to you as what we present to the capital planning board at the end of this month. We are planning to meet with them December 15th, I think it is. It's a Monday, and hoping to get all of the finalized supporting documentation to them the week before. So I would ask, if there are any questions, and after questions that there be a vote so that we can move this forward to meet the capital planning board deadlines.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon. We'll start with Mr. Dial.
Great, thank you very much. I dropped the thing off the screen, so I lost the thing. But maybe my head's more important. I don't know. But I definitely agree with the red ones, and I agree with the yellows and the blues. I just have 2 questions. One on the security enhancements. I've read the memo on that. Was this, I understand the need to replace failing equipment. We should definitely do that. But as far as enhancing and adding, have we had any consultation with police or security professionals in order to figure out what we should be enhancing and why we should be enhancing it, to make sure we're investing in the right places for the right reasons?
So the principals have walked with the security company and with Ron through technology. And we did have the first year, so last year, Officer Taylor walked with them. So this is year 2 of that process. So Officer Taylor was involved in year 1.
And this is the same plan from
This
that
is the
from
same
year.
plan. Yeah, they just
Okay.
walked it again to double check because only half of what we had asked for at the middle school, high school was done in year 1.
Yep.
So they walked it again to figure out what exactly, to secure that request. And then also the outdoors is the second part.
And then the second question on the football uprights, I think we're accelerating that forward. Is that a safety issue? Because I know we have applied for, again, another year of MSBA support. But if we were to need to use that area for something else, I don't want us to invest good capital into temporary greens. We had the same discussion when we accepted the gift for the scoreboard. So just want to make sure that's been thought about as we make this request.
It has been thought about. I think, we'll know soon. And based on the feasibility study that we did last year, though we'll have to redo a feasibility study if we get into the MSBA process. The options that came out of the first feasibility study, I think only one option was for a building to be on the football field. So the majority of options that have been designed so far would keep the football field in place so that when building and construction was happening, that field could still be in use. If that changed, we would reconsider putting the football uprights up.
And I'm assuming this, and we obviously don't want to not do something because of a contingency we don't know about. So that's fine. But I guess, is it imperative that they're done? Is it a safety issue that we need to do it now, or because it was on next year's budget, right? Because I know they're kind of leaning.
They are leaning. I don't know that it's a safety issue as much as it's an issue when they're playing and other teams are coming. And it's been a request for a while. And so I think it could be postponed. And at the same time, I think it's something that if we have a sense that the football field is going to remain, it would be timely to do that.
And I can't remember if you'd said this. I was looking at some of the other materials. Do we have a rough estimate of? I have no idea. There's not like a football upright store, so I have no idea how much football uprights would cost.
Our couple-year-old estimate puts it between $13,000 and $14,000. So we're just waiting for the updated estimate, which I assume will only be a few $1,000s more than that.
Although with inflation, maybe it'll be like 900,000.
And depending on where it's coming from, that could impact the price as well.
Great. So great. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, for the uprights, certainly, I think it's something we can just put on the list, and if it's a small enough amount and capital has enough money for it, great. And sometimes you can fit a lot of kind of small projects in the margins once all the big stuff comes through. So even if it's $10 or $15, $20,000, we can put that in front of them and see where it falls out. No questions on the bus leases, on the red items, obviously, the athletic bus as well. Although we do have to, capital did request that we give them a little bit of a usage report. I haven't done a follow-up on that yet. We'll do that. Boards, this will be the final year. That's great. And the furniture, that's going to be a recurring task. I forgot who mentioned it, but somebody mentioned that capital budget is expecting a lot of these. We should be prepared to be having the same conversations from scratch because the majority, 3 of the capital budget members are going to be new. So there's really only one carryover. outside of one person who had just joined. So when we walk into those meetings, we should be prepared to really start from scratch about all these different things, because a lot of the institutional knowledge isn't going to be there anymore. On the cameras, I know this is the final read. During the first read, I expressed some concerns about some information that I still don't fully understand on these requests. And then during our second read, I requested that we have we look at the camera policy. I think right now we're in a heightened environment, and understanding, both privacy concerns, security reasons, and what our policies are on all the facets of that. These kind of things are really front and center now. So I remain not entirely comfortable with this request. It's going to be $200,000 of cameras. It's a lot of cameras. It's a lot of money. And I'd like to spend some time understanding and tightening up our policies before, making another $100,000 investment on that line. That's been my position previously. It's still today. We haven't really had a chance as a board to discuss it. So that's something that I'd prefer to table as much as we could. And, if we can bring it back up, a few weeks after we kind of have our internal conversations, I think that'd be wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Squatria?
Really only one question. It's just to clarify on the security enhancements item. I looked back at the FY26 request, and it was in the ballpark, like 90 to 100. I think we're expecting something similar for this year as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And it may be a little bit less because we did a lot more at Deer Hill last year versus this year. We'll really just be finishing up middle school and high school. The sort of unknown is how the outdoor cameras compare to the cost of what was done at Deer Hill. It may be a little less.
Mr. McClellan?
I guess just with regards to any of the capital improvements we make and the concerns related to the parallel sort of MSBA process, just remember that, even if as a community today we approved a new school, which we're far from that because we don't even know if anything's that subsidy is coming our way. It would take years for that school to be built, and the feasibility study we conducted previously on our own. Part of that was to help inform us in terms of what options would be available to us on site while our students were still coming and attending class in this building. And that's because we have limited relo options in this small town. So all of those options contemplated that scenario. So it would be the continued use of this building for several years to come. So I don't think any of these are necessarily wasted investments. I mean, we have to continue to maintain the building that we're in, regardless of what might or might not happen in the future. So thank you to our finance staff and our central office staff for putting this together and for all the time and thought you put into it. I love the CPC addition or thought relative to the stadium. That's a really great idea.
It's not my idea. It's Michelle Leary's, so thank you to her.
We support Michelle Leary. She's great. Thank her.
I think I actually was planning to echo what you said about that this building, whether we are accepted into an MSBA program or not, and whether or not we renovate or rebuild, if we are accepted into the program, means that we will effectively be in this building probably 5, 6, 7 years, close to a decade, which is around the lifetime of some of these things that we're purchasing or proposing to purchase. So I think that's the sort of tempering at and adjusting the expectations around what might occur should we be accepted into the program. Otherwise, I do appreciate the work of everyone involved, committee members, school administration, business office staff in terms of pulling this together. It's a lot of work for everyone and a lot of careful attention and good questions. So I appreciate all of the engagement that everyone here has shown, including our committee, our community at large. I feel as if budgeting and the school budget has been of high interest to many in the community, and I appreciate that level of engagement as we go through this process. And I hope that interest and attention continues. It makes us better for it. So at this point, if there is a motion on the floor to approve the capital requests as presented.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by
Their
Mr.
virtual
Squatrito. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Dial,
Aye.
Mr. Evans,
Can I just make a point of order request here, which is rather than asking me to vote on the full slate, can we separate out the cameras? That way I can vote on the capital request that I support and not be have one vote do the full slate.
I am open to that request, assuming the rest of the committee is okay with that.
My only issue, Mr. Evans, is that the motion was to approve the capital list as presented by Dr. Shannon tonight. So I think that, and it's been seconded. So now I think you need to vote on whether or not you support that motion.
I was not given the opportunity to comment before that motion was made, and I am happy to make a motion to amend or withdraw the motion or reframe the motion. Or we can revote after this one is done, whichever you think is.
I'd like to defer to you, Mr. McClellan, in terms of process. This is Harvard level process. I'm more of a.
I
think
that
I can make a motion to amend, right, Greg? Since it was a motion a second.
it was a motion and it was seconded. I mean, I'm certainly as the one that made the motion, in the interest of inclusivity here, willing to withdraw the motion and allow you to comment if Mr. Squatrito is willing to withdraw his second, so we can allow a committee member who is appearing virtually to comment on the motion first. I'm happy to do that.
That would be fine by me. Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's see, do we want to start by withdrawing the motion or amending the motion?
yeah, so I would withdraw the motion at this time. There's been a member that has expressed an interest in making additional comments before we vote. So I'd withdraw the motion, and I think Mr. Squatrito indicated he was willing to withdraw his second to allow Mr. Evans to speak.
Apologies, I think sometimes we do move quickly between our asking for a motion and the end of comment. So I apologize. Mr. Evans, you have the floor.
Oh, no, I would just say I would, as a matter of procedure, I think if one member expresses concerns on something, then we try not to do everything as a package deal, right? So we should be able to bifurcate, separate things out whenever there were any. So as I said, I'm supportive of the whole slate outside of the cameras, so I would like my vote to reflect that that support. As for the cameras, one of the pieces of information which I just learned right now is that we're also doing exterior upgrades, and this is kind of the information that I was missing. And I want to state here for the record that I am in full support of any of the exterior upgrades to these buildings. A lot of my concern has to do with we're doing with monitoring of students inside the buildings. So this is the kind of information that I'm missing, where I would like my vote on the cameras to reflect information and clarify questions that I may have. So in summary, I would love a motion for everything but the cameras, and then if the committee feels that they still want to have a motion for the cameras without further clarification, then I can vote on that separately.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the budget as permitted on every item except for the cameras.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Do we have a second?
I can second it.
Seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. So this would be to approve bus leases, the multi-use vehicle, interactive boards, recurring CPS furniture replacement, football uprights, and the performance risers. Did I say the CPS furniture replacement? I did. Good.
Yes.
Right. So we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Dial,
Aye.
Mr. Evans,
Aye.
Mr. Squadrito,
Aye.
Mr. McClellan,
Nay.
Jen Leske, aye. Okay, so that passes as written as 4 in favor and 1 against with no abstentions.
What does that mean for a vote on the cameras?
Means that we can't request the money.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget request for the cameras. As presented and discussed at the school committee meeting just a moment ago.
Is there a second for that motion to approve the request?
Seconded.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Dial,
Aye.
Mr. Evans,
Abstain.
Mr. Squadrito,
Aye.
Mr. McClellan,
Aye.
Jen Leske, aye. Right, so that one passes as well, with 4 voting in favor and 1 abstention.
Madam Chair, was my audio incorrect? Did I hear Member McClellan vote nay for the first slate?
Yes.
Yes.
Was there an explanation that I missed, Mr. McClellan? I didn't know there were any objections to the slate outside of the cameras that I had presented.
There were none. I don't need to give an explanation, but I will. I was in support of the cameras being on that full slate that was presented by the administration. I was in support of the entire ask. And at that point, there was nothing. There was no mechanism through which we could request the funding for the cameras, and I thought it important to fund the cameras. And so if we had just voted on that motion as well as it was, and did not have the follow-up motion that Mr. Dial made, which I had no idea that he would make that, because it seems strange to me that we would vote it in 2 different, I don't understand why we did that. That's why I voted against it, because I was in support of including the cameras on that slate.
Would it be accommodating if we redid the slate now that the procedure is clear? My apologies if the procedure wasn't clear. Other places we've separated things out on other boards and such like that. So to me, it didn't seem like procedurally confusing. So my apologies if I wasn't clear on my procedural request on that one.
I think we got to the same place. I'm sorry for speaking out of turn, Madam Chair. I think we got to the same place, so I think we're good.
If I can take, it would be more fitting and representative of the committee's views if we had a unanimous vote for the balance of the slate as opposed to an objection. I'd like to repropose the approval of remove that we approve all of the items except for the cameras, and see if we can get a second and a unanimous vote so that goes to advisory and to the town with a 5-0.
I would.
Action.
I'd support that motion and second it. It's kind of like a motion to reconsider. Yeah.
So we would need that motion.
I think, Mr. Dye, was it your intention to make that motion?
Yes. Yes. And is your intention to second it?
It was my intention.
Okay. So I think we have a motion made and seconded on every item to reconsider the first vote on all items except for the cameras.
Oh, it seems like now you have to re-vote on
All right, so
everything but the cameras.
Yes.
Because now we voted for the cameras, and I think they're trying to get a unanimous vote. So
Yes.
that's fine.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have that motion on the table, which is all items on the slate with the exception of the security enhancements, which were previously voted on. So we'll do a roll call vote. That motion was made by Mr. Dial, seconded by Mr. Evans. Roll call vote, Mr. Dial,
Aye.
Mr. Evans,
Aye.
Mr. Squatrito,
Aye.
Mr. McClellan,
Aye.
Jen Leske, aye. So the slate with the exception passes with all 5 members voting anonymously in support. Thank you all. We have next on our, Superintendent Shannon, please bring this forth to the Capital Committee on the 15th. We look forward to hearing their feedback. Thank you. Let's move ahead. We had discussed last week school committee office hours. It was the first sort of digesting of that piece of information about having some regular opportunities for the community to meet with members, not a quorum, of school committee members in a public place. There were several great ideas that were put forward about how to achieve that goal in a way that's sustainable for both committee members and works well for community members. So just opening up that discussion as well as to whether or not anyone has had any further thoughts or ideas that they would like to put forth to the committee, and maybe we develop some next steps on or some action steps that we can take soon. I'll just sort of open the floor on this. Mr. Dial, I saw you unclick.
Yeah, I was assuming I was going to take the alphabetical lead on this one. Although Corey's going to have to change his name to Mr. Bevins just to take this burden from me. But anyway, I'll just reiterate my concerns that I did last meeting. I'm not sure that we need formal office hours. I think our availability is high. I do also worry that office hours might chill people's need or want to reach out individually to us via email or other contacts because they'll think, okay, that we'll just do the office hours, which if there are those of us who have less time and availability to do those office hours, that may be less interaction with the community for those members. So I'm not a huge fan. I certainly don't want to discourage any community member from announcing their availability to the community at any time, but to make it a formal school committee policy could also make it difficult for those people who have less time to commit to it. And, there could be optics of that as well. So I'm reticent to support a formal school committee office hours for those reasons, not because I don't want to engage with the community, but rather just because I think it changes the optics of our engagement in a way that may not be what we're trying to intend.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Evans?
Actually going to change my last name to Zevins with a Z. I think the takeaway that Mr. Dial pointed out was that it doesn't, any of us can announce office hours somewhere and we can do it informally. So I like if any of us wanted to say, hey, we're going to be available at a certain time for conversation, we could do that. And I think that'd be just as effective as a formal policy without adding the overhead. So, but I'm supportive of the idea of of the concept. I just don't think that formalizing it makes it any better. I think it just makes it a little bit more difficult for us. So that's my takeaway, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Squatrito?
Yeah, I think as I've spent more time thinking about this, I know something that I briefly mentioned during the previous discussion on this was the policy is not so much about increasing our availability as individuals. It's more about setting the tone and setting that expectation, just that background expectation that we are here and available and open. And as I said, if people reach out to me, I'm happy to meet with them. And I think everybody else on the committee would agree with that. So I think even just doing something small, I know that one of the ideas that came up at the last meeting was somebody from the committee coming to a school committee meeting an hour early. And that's our office hour. I know that's something that would work for me. I can't speak for others on that, but I think that would be a good first step towards setting the tone that we are here and open and available to discuss everything. And if people can't make it, hopefully they will reach out and email whoever is doing the office hour before that meeting, and something can be arranged with that person or somebody else.
Thank you. Mr. McClellan?
What Mr. Squarchito said sounds great. I'd just like to pilot some sort of program. I'm in support of it because it came out of um, a, um, a family meeting that I had, and I think that we should take it seriously. I don't think it diminishes or chills any sort of participation that folks might have. I think it just broadens the horizons there. So I'm in favor of it. I think I'm totally in favor of that suggestion. If I know that one of the concerns were that it would be on like neutral territory and that, in a safe space, but I feel like this is a fairly safe space, and just to pilot it and figure out what the overall appetite for it is in the first place, I think it's fair to also take into consideration the convenience of the members as well, and I think that's a convenient system to have it an hour before the meeting. So I'd be in support of that, and I'd also be happy on most nights to do it, just because I work nearby. But I agree with the proposal that Squartrito fashioned.
I also appreciate, Mr. Squartrito, we're not looking to necessarily increase our availability, but to make people aware of it and make it as accessible as possible. I appreciate that distinction. And I also agree with you, Mr. McClellan. I think that if we could perhaps try between now and May, when we will reconstitute with after the elections, maybe the first school committee meeting of every month. We will have a school committee member or two here between we start at 6, between 5 and 6, and maybe we don't even sit at these tables, but we have lots of beautiful cozy chairs, thanks to the CEF, close to 10 years ago now, I think. And maybe we can put that on the agenda as well, so that when the agenda goes out, it reminds the public that if they would like to have a less formal conversation, that they can do so on those first Mondays. I don't know if this is something we need to vote on. Do we? Or do we need to just agree that a handful of us, and it doesn't need to be obligated to everyone who's doing it? I think.
I wonder if in the email that goes out with the agenda
Yes.
versus on the agenda,
Oh, good point.
because the agenda would signify
Thank you.
a full meeting,
Yes.
but I can ask Jennifer to
Yes.
add it to the emails that go out to the community.
Thank you. Thank you. That's much better.
And Madam Chair, I would say we'd only need to vote if we were making it as a formal school committee policy. But if it's, hey, does anyone want to come an hour before and sit in comfy chairs? Like, I don't know that that's something that needs to vote. It's supposed to just, we just do it.
I agree with that, Mr. Dial. I liked Mr. McClellan's use of the word pilot program. I think that this could well be a pilot to see, one, if the community uses it, and two, if it works for the committee at large, and an opportunity to try something and see if it works. I don't know that it is actually a policy.
May I just add one more thing, which is,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's your agenda, right, as the chair. So I don't think it's objectionable at all if you even want to add to an agenda at the bottom, any community member that wishes to meet with the school committee member beforehand, reach out, something like that. Something informal, just giving people some direction in case they missed the email part of it. So, because I also don't want this to not get response because people don't see it, right? So I don't want to set us up for failure. I want to make it, both visible, but also not official.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
wherever
we
that
can
line is.
also do some other communications around this possibility, and I would just recommend that we start in January. December, as we started this meeting, is a crazy month for everyone.
Maybe February.
What?
Maybe February, because we're coming back. Maybe February through May.
Yeah, we'll do it February through May. That's a great suggestion if that works for people. And between us, we can facilitate some sort of sign up to do this with absolutely zero obligation if it does not work for your schedule. Because we'll find a way to do that. Mr. McClellan works close. I live across the street. We'll make it happen. And I said, Mr. Squartrito, you said you're here. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. That then brings us to reports from school committees, subcommittees, and liaisons. Does anyone have a report for us? Okay, thank you. No reports. I have no topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. We have no minutes to approve. We do need to move into executive session to conduct collective bargaining session regarding teachers. So we will need a motion to adjourn this public meeting and not to return after our executive session is over. So we'll need to do that.
From a technical matter, can we do remote participation in the executive session? I guess I don't know that we've done that before.
We've done it before.
I feel like we have had.
We have? I
Yeah.
don't know that we've done it as a
Before?
committee. But it just make sure, because normally we actually like unplug everything and like wheel it away and make sure that there's not,
I can
internet
send
that's
you a
not-
separate link.
Let's do that. That would be good.
Fantastic.
I'll
Thank you,
do
Mr.
that
Dial,
right now.
for those questions. Are there any other questions before we receive a motion to adjourn this public session and commence a executive session with no return to public session afterwards?
Just a point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think the reason to move in an executive session is misstated. It should be to conduct collective bargaining strategy,
Okay,
not session regarding teachers.
okay. Thank you. So motion so that we can move into executive session for reason number 2 to conduct collective bargaining strategy.
Yeah, I just think
Thank
that was
you,
a
Mr.
typo on the
Yeah.
agenda, yeah.
Thank you.
So I make a motion to that effect.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, Mr. Dial? Roll call.
aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Squattrito?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Jen Leske, aye. This meeting, public portion of this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending Cohasset. And committee members will get you back here in just a second.
I think we should make clear in the record, we will not be reconvening in regular session. We will adjourn from executive session.
We will be adjourning from executive session. Thank you.
And Lance, you should have an email with an invitation for a Zoom link.
I do. I'm going to try and log in via my phone now. So thank you all, and I'll see you in a moment.
Thanks.